Stop. Think for a second. What if being good is actually destroying your life? Being good blindly makes you vulnerable and exploitable. Kindness, honesty, and generosity, when used without strategy, can actually weaken you instead of protecting you. Imagine this scenario: you're the kindest person in your office. You stay late to help coworkers finish their projects. You cover for mistakes they make. You never say no to anyone's request for help. You genuinely care about everyone, and your intentions are pure. At first, people notice. They thank you, they appreciate you. But after a few months, something subtle begins to happen. People stop noticing. They start assuming your help is automatic. Your availability, your kindness, your willingness to sacrifice, all of it becomes expected. And then, slowly, without you realizing it, you become vulnerable. Here's the brutal truth. Goodness, when unguarded, exposes you to exploitation. Being good is not inherently dangerous. But being good without awareness, without boundaries, and without strategy is like walking through a forest filled with wolves, carrying a sign that says, "I will never defend myself." Let me give you an example from my own experience. A few years ago, I worked with someone I considered a mentor. He was endlessly generous with his time, always ready to help. He would drop his work to assist anyone who needed it. People loved him. They admired him. But when the time came for promotion decisions, guess what happened? He was passed over. Someone less nice, someone more strategic, got the role. Because nice people are often seen as weak or replaceable. When you're too accommodating, too predictable, too harmless, others may admire you privately but they won't respect you professionally. This isn't just a workplace problem. It happens everywhere. In friendships, in family, in romantic relationships. Think of the friend who always drives everyone around, always picks up the dinner bill, always helps when asked. At first, people say, "You're amazing." But over time, what was once generosity becomes expectation. Suddenly, when you need help, suddenly, when you ask someone to do something for you, they're too busy or it's not convenient. Your goodness, instead of creating loyalty, has created dependency and eventually resentment. Psychologically, this makes sense. Humans are wired to adapt to behavior patterns. We notice differences more than constants. When someone occasionally shows kindness, it stands out. But when kindness becomes predictable, it fades into the background. People start to see it as a given, something they can count on without consideration or gratitude. This is why being too good too often can actually reduce the value of your goodness. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He observed leaders who were generous and kind, who tried to govern with fairness and honesty. Many of them fell. They were overthrown, betrayed, or manipulated. He wrote, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten wolves." In other words, being only kind, only honest, only good, leaves you defenseless. You need strategy and strength alongside your virtues to survive and thrive. Let's break this down further. When you are consistently good, people begin to predict your behavior. They know you won't say no. They know you won't push back. They know they can rely on your forgiveness, your generosity, your patience. Predictability is dangerous in human relationships. When your actions are entirely transparent and always compliant, others can take advantage of that. They begin to manipulate your goodness for their own benefit. Consider the classic example of the office doormat. This is the person who always says yes, who volunteers for extra tasks, who never refuses a request, even when it conflicts with their own priorities. At first, colleagues are grateful, but soon they take it for granted. The doormat is never consulted for promotions or leadership opportunities. Their efforts are invisible, their sacrifices unnoticed. But because being good alone does not command respect. Respect comes from a combination of goodness and authority, discernment and limits. Let's also talk about kindness in families. How often do we see a sibling who always says yes, who agrees to help with chores, who supports others emotionally, only to realize later that this kindness is exploited? Family members may begin to rely on this person excessively, taking their help as an entitlement. When the kind one finally sets a boundary, the reaction is often guilt, anger, or resentment. People forget all the previous sacrifices and only notice the first refusal. This is a painful but universal human truth. Your goodness can become a weakness if it is unchecked. Now let's consider friendships. Friendships are supposed to be reciprocal, right? But the person who is consistently good, the friend who always listens, always supports, always gives, often finds themselves alone in times of need. Others have unconsciously learned that the good friend will always give, so they stop offering support in return. Over time, the good person realizes that being good does not automatically mean being valued. Instead, it often means being taken for granted. Why does this happen? One reason is that humans respect strength and strategy more than pure kindness. Strength does not mean cruelty. Strategy does not mean deception. But without the ability to protect oneself, to set limits, and to act decisively, goodness becomes exploitable. Machiavelli's insight is clear. In a world full of challenges, being naively good is not enough. You must combine your virtues with wisdom and foresight. Here's another way to look at it. Imagine a fire. Goodness is like fire. It can provide warmth and light, but if uncontrolled, it can burn down the house it's supposed to protect. Your good intentions, without boundaries or strategy, can destroy your relationships, your career, your mental health, even your dreams. Fire is powerful, but only when it's managed wisely. So what should you do? First, recognize that being good is not the problem. Being unstrategically good is. Second, start setting boundaries. Learn to say no when necessary. Protect your energy. Not every request deserves a yes. Not every opportunity to help others should come at the cost of your own well-being. Third, understand that predictability is dangerous. People should not be able to walk all over you. Let them know that kindness is earned, respected, and protected. Here's a practical example. Suppose you are always the person who covers extra shifts at work. At first, management is grateful. After a while, it becomes expected. Eventually, your contributions are invisible, and when promotions come around, those who are strategic about their contributions, not just giving but timing and prioritizing, get ahead. The lesson? Goodness without strategic action does not create influence or power. Even in romantic relationships, being too good can backfire. A partner who constantly gives, constantly forgives, and constantly accommodates may find that their generosity is taken for granted. Love and kindness must be balanced with self-respect and boundaries. Otherwise, being too good can lead to exploitation, disappointment, and resentment. Let's make this personal. Ask yourself, am I being good because I want to truly help, or because I fear conflict? Do people value my kindness, or do they take it for granted? Am I protecting myself while being good, or am I exposing myself to harm? Strategic goodness is about combining virtue with wisdom, kindness with boundaries, generosity with selectivity. You don't need to become harsh or cruel. You don't need to stop being good. But you must learn to protect yourself. That's the hidden danger Machiavelli warned about. Goodness alone cannot survive in a world full of wolves. In conclusion, the first shocking truth about goodness is this: being good without strategy is dangerous. It exposes you to exploitation, drains your energy, and reduces your influence. But when paired with wisdom, boundaries, and strategic thinking, goodness becomes a source of true strength. Protect your energy. Be kind, but be smart. Be generous, but be selective. Stand up when necessary. Speak up when needed. Because in the end, goodness without strategy is vulnerability, but goodness with strategy is power. Excess generosity can create dependency, entitlement, and resentment, turning your kindness from a strength into a trap. Think about this. You are someone who loves helping others. You pick up friends from the airport, pay for dinners, assist with moving, mentor colleagues, and always say yes when someone asks for a favor. You genuinely enjoy giving. At first, people notice. They compliment you, praise your generosity, even share stories of your kindness with others. You feel appreciated. It feels good to be needed. But here's the hidden danger. The more you give, the less people value it. Your generosity becomes expected. People start taking it for granted. Over time, your exceptional kindness loses its impact, and when you finally set a boundary or say no, suddenly you're labeled as selfish. You've fallen into the generosity trap. Let's break it down with an example. Imagine parents who always give their children everything they want. The first time, a toy or a treat brings delight. The second time, excitement returns, but slightly less. By the 10th gift, children see it as normal. They expect it. And when parents finally say no to something, suddenly, the children react as if they've been wronged. The parents, once seen as generous and loving, are now unfair. This is not because the children are bad or ungrateful. It's human nature. We adapt quickly to positive experiences, and what was once extraordinary becomes ordinary. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation. Humans are wired to quickly adapt to good things. When someone repeatedly offers kindness, help, or generosity, we stop noticing it consciously. We shift our expectations to match the constant. That's why repeated acts of generosity, no matter how well-intentioned, can backfire. What was once admired now feels ordinary, and what was once your strength becomes your weakness. Here's a real-life workplace example. Imagine an employee who always stays late to help colleagues finish projects. At first, everyone appreciates it. But after weeks and months, staying late becomes the new normal. The employee's extra effort is no longer recognized. When they try to leave on time once, suddenly they are not committed or not a team player. Their generosity, once valued, has created expectation rather than gratitude. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He advised, benefits ought to be conferred gradually, and in that way they will taste better. The principle is simple but profound. Scarcity increases value, abundance diminishes it. When your generosity is too frequent, people no longer perceive it as special. It loses its power. The generosity trap also occurs in friendships. Suppose you are the friend who always pays for dinner, always drives everyone around, always helps with favors. At first, your friends are grateful. They praise your selflessness. But over time, it becomes assumed. They stop saying thank you. They stop offering to reciprocate. And when you ask for help or set boundaries, they get annoyed, upset, or even resentful. Your generosity, instead of creating loyalty, creates entitlement. Romantic relationships can suffer from the same trap. A partner who constantly gives, constantly forgives, and constantly accommodates may find their acts of kindness expected rather than appreciated. When one day they decide to prioritize themselves or say no to something unreasonable, it can trigger conflict. The relationship suffers, not because they were bad, but because their generosity created a psychological expectation that is impossible to sustain indefinitely. Even leaders and public figures face this trap. A manager who gives bonuses or recognition too freely may find that employees start taking it for granted. They expect rewards as a given, and when the manager attempts to implement discipline or enforce standards, the workforce reacts negatively. Excess generosity without boundaries reduces influence and authority. So, what can you do to avoid the generosity trap? The first step is to be intentional about giving. Don't give blindly. Instead, ask yourself 3 questions before helping or giving. Does this align with my values and goals? Can I give without depleting myself? Will the recipient value and respect my help? If the answer to any of these is no, you don't just say no, you say no strategically, politely, but firmly. By doing this, you protect your energy and ensure that your acts of generosity remain meaningful and respected. Another practical approach is gradual generosity, just as Machiavelli suggested. Instead of giving everything at once, space out your help and contributions. Make your kindness deliberate, scarce, and impactful. People will value it more, remember it longer, and respond with appreciation rather than entitlement. Let's return to the workplace. Suppose a team member consistently helps everyone. To avoid the generosity trap, they could start choosing when and how to help. Instead of immediately responding to every request, they might prioritize tasks that align with their goals or where their help will create the most impact. Not only does this protect their time and energy, but it also increases their value and influence. Their help is no longer expected, it is desired and respected. In personal relationships, the same principle applies. Help selectively. Give your time, attention, and resources to those who genuinely appreciate and reciprocate. Learn to say no gracefully. This may feel uncomfortable at first, but over time, you will notice a shift. People begin to respect your boundaries, and your acts of generosity regain their impact and significance. There's also a psychological truth worth noting. Humans are naturally biased toward noticing what is rare or scarce. That's why limited editions sell out, and exclusive opportunities attract attention. Your generosity, when limitless, loses this scarcity value. But when carefully measured, it becomes powerful, memorable, and influential. Consider a historical example. Charitable leaders like Mother Teresa didn't help everyone equally or constantly. She focused intensely on the poorest of the poor, the cases where her help could make the biggest difference. Her generosity was strategic and selective, and that made it impactful and respected. She avoided the trap of spreading herself too thin or being taken for granted. Another insight: generosity without boundaries often leads to burnout. When you give endlessly without considering your own needs, your physical, mental, and emotional energy depletes. Eventually, you may feel resentment or frustration toward the very people you were trying to help. Your giving, instead of bringing fulfillment, starts to drain you. And when you are drained, your ability to make meaningful impact disappears. To sum up, the generosity trap has 3 key consequences. Dependency: people start relying on your giving and lose initiative. Entitlement: your generosity becomes expected, not appreciated. Resentment: when you can't or won't give anymore, people may see you as selfish or unfair. The antidote is strategic generosity. Give intentionally, give selectively, and give in ways that create value and impact rather than mere expectation. Protect your energy, create boundaries, and understand that your acts of kindness are most powerful when they are deliberate, scarce, and meaningful. Machiavelli's wisdom reminds us, generosity is not about abundance alone. It is about control, timing, and strategic application. Benefits ought to be conferred gradually, and in that way they will taste better. If you give everything freely and without thought, your gifts lose taste, impact, and respect. If you give thoughtfully, your actions gain power, influence, and gratitude. Finally, remember this: your goal is not to stop being generous, it is to avoid being trapped by your own generosity. By being strategic, you can maintain influence, build respect, and create meaningful change, all while protecting yourself from burnout and exploitation. In a world that judges appearances more than reality, strategically managing how others perceive your goodness is critical. The right image amplifies influence and respect. Here's a truth that might surprise you. People don't always judge your intentions, they judge your image. They don't see your heart, they see what you show them. This is the mask of virtue, presenting your goodness in a way that commands respect and influence, without losing authenticity. Think about leaders in history. Do you believe they achieved greatness by being blindly nice to everyone? Not at all. They mastered the art of strategic virtue. They knew when to be gentle and when to show strength, when to offer mercy and when to enforce discipline, when to appear generous and when to hold back. Their image of virtue created influence, while their strategic actions created real results. For instance, a doctor may need to perform a painful surgery to save a patient. To the patient, it might look cruel at first, but the intent is life-saving. The appearance of harshness masks strategic goodness. Similarly, a successful CEO may make tough decisions that upset employees temporarily, but the ultimate outcome benefits everyone. Strategic leaders understand that showing softness at the wrong time can be dangerous, just as showing strength at the wrong time can harm relationships. Machiavelli put it plainly, everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. What people perceive becomes reality in their eyes. If you appear weak, people will test your limits. If you appear strong, your influence grows. This is why your perceived virtue is more important than your internal virtue when it comes to leadership, survival, and influence. The key is timing and selectivity. You don't need to fake your goodness. You need to control when, where, and to whom you display it. Smile publicly, but make tough calls privately. Offer mercy where it builds loyalty, and show firmness where it establishes respect. People remember the strategically displayed virtue far longer than constant, uncalculated kindness. Here's a practical tip. Before taking an action that reflects your goodness, ask yourself, will this strengthen my influence? Will it create respect and loyalty? Am I showing this at the right time to the right person? If the answer is yes, act. If no, hold back or adjust your approach. This doesn't make you fake, it makes you effective. Consider public figures like Martin Luther King Jr. or Mother Teresa. Their strategic acts of virtue, public protests, focused charitable efforts, were carefully calculated. They maximized impact, inspired loyalty, and avoided being taken for granted. They weren't nice to everyone all the time. They were good strategically, and that's why their actions left a lasting legacy. Remember, in a world full of observers, your image shapes your reality. Strategic virtue is not deception. It's about timing, perception, and power. Show your goodness deliberately, and you'll be respected, trusted, and influential. Ignore it, and people will exploit your blind kindness. Every favor you grant, every yes you give, has a cost. Time, energy, and resources are finite, yet most people give without calculating the impact. Unlimited kindness drains your strength, leaving you exhausted, resentful, and ineffective. Think of airplane instructions. Put your mask on first, then help others. Life works the same way. Protecting your resources isn't selfish, it's strategic. Leaders know that to help others effectively, they must first preserve their own power. Boundaries aren't weakness, they're the foundation for lasting influence, sustainable generosity, and the ability to make a real impact. Being good isn't enough, you must use your virtues strategically. Mercy, honesty, and generosity are like tools, powerful only when applied at the right time. A sword unused does nothing. In the hands of a skilled warrior, it can save a kingdom. Similarly, your kindness should be intentional, focused, and aligned with your goals. Help the right people, say yes selectively, and give fully when it matters. Strategic virtue creates impact, respect, and loyalty, turning goodness from a weakness into a source of real power. Timing, focus, and selectivity are the keys. Gratitude is fleeting. People quickly adapt to your kindness, and repeated favors often become expected, not appreciated. What was once special becomes ordinary, and when you finally say no, you're seen as selfish. Real goodness isn't measured by intentions but by results. History remembers those who create impact, not those who only mean well. Protect yourself first, act strategically, and focus on outcomes that matter. By doing this, your generosity gains respect and longevity, and your actions leave a lasting legacy. Strength enables sustained goodness, making your impact meaningful, remembered, and unstoppable.